Hello everyone, I am CoolGuy, welcome back, and today let's go over one of my favorite weapons in Destiny history, the Last Word. This is a part of the annual pass for Destiny 2, and the exotic quest is called the Draw. Now we're going to go through these steps really quick. I do have input where it's needed, and then we'll get to the review. I usually take some time with my reviews, but I'm very familiar with the Last Word, and I'm comfortable giving you guys a full review. I do have some tips and techniques as well. So going over these quest steps shouldn't take too long, but there's a timestamp down below if you do want to get to the review part. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button. We have a pretty chill group down here, and if you are subscribed, thank you for your support. For the quest, you first speak to the Drifter, and then he gives you the second step, the Cleansing. Defeat Hive with solar damage, collect 75 Hive tablets, and then defeat 3 Hive bosses. It's a perfect set for the escalation protocol. You're going to get it done in no time there. Especially in this first week, you won't have any problems finding other players doing this as well. After that, the second step, Temptation. Defeat Guardians in PvP. Being defeated will impede your progress. It looks like a kill will give you 2 points towards 100% completion, and a death will bring you down 1 point. So you need to manage a 0.5 KD, and you'll get there. Be patient if you need to, take a break if you need to. Don't get stressed out if you're having trouble, just play smart. The third step is a Lost Sector. Fourth step, collect etched crystals from Lost Sectors. So that's 15 of those. You need to run 15 Lost Sectors. Then you need to get Best Served Cold or Blood for Blood medals. You need 25 of them. Best Served Cold is defeating an opponent who had previously defeated you, and Blood for Blood is defeating an opponent who had just defeated your teammate. Mayhem is this week. These medals mostly happen just naturally. Then we need to collect 50 Hive larvae, headshots on Hive, drop them, and not all the time you'll get one to drop. It's every other one sometimes, and sometimes it's every one. And then complete 3 Hive rituals. So you can go between Titan and Mars for this one. Be mindful that a lot of players are on Mars right now, so that Hive ritual there could get interrupted with all the escalation protocol going on. The final step, the conversation. You're alone on this one. This is one of those things in Destiny, just sit back and enjoy it, man. I really like this mission. I won't spoil it. You don't need a certain weapon for the mission, just use what you normally would for PvE. It takes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours to complete, depending on PvP, time waiting for the rituals. It's not too bad. But here we are again with the Last Word. Let's go ahead and start with the perks and its base stats. For the perks, we have 3 perks that give the makeup of the Last Word's base stats: Corkscrew Rifling, Accurized Rounds, and Textured Grip. Its second main perk is Hipfire Grip, increased accuracy and stability when firing from the hip. And its main intrinsic perk, Fanfire. This weapon can be fired quickly and continuously, faster reload, and increased accuracy on successive hipfire damage. There's a lot to talk about here. For those stats, it has a range of 32, stability of 46, handling of 46, reload of 82, aim assist stat of 40, a recoil direction stat of 100, and a magazine of 8. Fanfire is specifically designed for hip firing. Instead of bonus damage like we had in Destiny 1, we now have these bonuses. And to get these bonuses, you need to be in hip fire. With how the perk reads, in theory, the more damage you do while in hip fire, the tighter, straighter, truer the bullets are going to go, and you get a faster reload. As you land your first hipfire shot, the Fanfire text will come up on the screen, and this can stack up to 4 times. Once you aim down sights, once you reload, the buff is gone. Let's start off with the faster reload. In the background, you're going to see the base reload, then we have Fanfire ×1, all the way up to ×4, just running around in this Lost Sector. You would think that this is going to work like Rapid Hit. It does not. There's a difference from no stack to 1 stack though, and the reload incrementally gets better up to ×4. It's not drastic. If you throw on a hand cannon loader perk, that's fairly similar to what a ×4 stack is. This part of the perk is slight, but there is a nice difference between no stacks and 1. And as it works out, you get into an engagement, and you're hip firing, you're going to at least get 1 stack and get a good reload at the end of it. For the better accuracy part, which is going to be hard to judge and fully understand, but we can get close, but it's not going to be 110% clear because there's some things that we can't see. So let's first look at what's going on under the hood here. This is console, by the way. Your hipfire reticle is a cone of accuracy, and this perk grants accuracy on successive hits. Without hitting anything, you see the bloom. The more you fire, you get to max bloom at the end of it. It's where these inner lines get outside of your main circle reticle. In comparison with the Hunter's Lucky Pants, which we'll talk about a little bit later, you have the illegally modded holster perk active, and you can see the difference. The inner circle won't go past your outer circle, it slightly moves. This is your accuracy, and this is about as good as it gets. But what about the perk? How do the stacks of Fanfire add up? It is slight. I've noticed that even though you do have a stack on your screen sometimes, it is again incremental. You can have 1 or 2 stacks on your screen, but I've noticed it works best when you are doing successive shots like the perk states. So rapid firing those shots out. The more you shoot, the tighter the cone gets. It's a type of reverse bloom, if that makes sense. As the review goes on, we'll talk more about hipfire and aim down sights. Now we do have a small PvE section here. Historically, Last Word has always been a PvP weapon. There were players that did use it in PvE though, and there will be players that are going to use it in PvE in Destiny 2. There are some applications. You can do different things with the Warlock, a Titan barrier, and if you want to get crazy, you can pair the chromatic fire with the Last Word on the Warlock. For PvE, hand cannon reserves are a priority, primary ammo finder as well. And I've used it in PvE, and it's really more of a fun type thing in the end, you are sacrificing that exotic slot. The last word does have a place, but so does the Whisper of the Worm. Sleeper is Anagi's burden. It's the player's choice, but be mindful of what you're passing up in that exotic slot. And as we get into the PvP section, we need to talk about a couple things. The last word is a very hard weapon to use, especially on console. You won't be able to just pick it up and understand it if you've never used it. It has a high skill gap. The more you work with it, the better you'll get with it though. That's what was really nice about some of the Destiny 1 weapons and Last Word. You can get better with it. You start off by learning all the nuances of Last Word, and we'll go over some of those today. It's always been a feel type weapon, and it is okay not to like it. Some players just pick it up and simply don't like it. But know going in that it does take time. There is a possibility that you could give up on it before you really start to understand it. Know that there is that skill gap going in. The strength of the Last Word is its extremely potent damage, but the weakness is that skill gap. In the Crucible, the Last Word does 68 to the head and 51 to the body, a 3 headshot kill and a 4 body shot kill. Going off the RPM and the damage it does, again, extremely potent kill time of 0.53 seconds with 3 headshots. With 4 body shots at 51 damage, the time to kill is 0.8 seconds, and to put that into perspective to see what we're really dealing with, the headshot and body shot TTK are that of the Thunderlord. Same TTK for optimal and body TTK. The headshot TTK is faster than Luna's Howl, Not Forgotten, and the body shot TTK of 0.8 seconds is faster than I would say probably 90% of the weapons in the game. The Last Word always has been and still is currently the 1v1 king of Destiny PvP. Its effective range is 22 meters when aiming down sights and 19.5 when in hipfire. That's the maximum point you do max damage, and you can't really go too much further than that because the drop off is severe with these hand cannons, and the Last Word simply won't be effective at longer ranges aside from cleanups. So let's go over some tips and techniques, exotic usage. Now the Last Word is routinely paired with snipers, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen sniper play since the Last Word dropped. It's because back in Destiny 1 and now in Destiny 2, the Last Word has you covered in medium range, short range, and in close quarters. The sniper's there for long range and also for cleanups with the Last Word. It depends on the sniper you use. I use a high impact Tatara Gaze, and when I switch to the Last Word, it is a very easy body cleanup. Another option that I found a lot of success with is bows. Bows have a shorter zoom and can be precise as well. You can peek and use it just like a sniper. I go with a higher impact bow, just in case I don't land the headshot. That way my body shot cleanup for the Last Word is a little bit easier. I see this as a very viable option for players that don't like sniping. You can also pair it with a shotgun. Players did it in Destiny 1, and players will do it now. When you do that, you are committing to CQC though. There isn't a bad option to pair with the Last Word, so don't let someone tell you one thing is better than another thing, because they all work. Each thing that you pair it with, though, changes the playstyle a little bit and requires you to do different things. Since the Last Word is your CQC weapon, you will be rushed, you will have shotguns and other weapons in your face. What to remember is the body shot damage of 51. A melee is 100 damage. When players close in, a lot of players get in the air, and with all the perks for hipfire, you are fairly accurate from the air with the Last Word. So you jump, use your vertical space to land shots. In these situations, you need to land 2 shots. It could either be to the head or the body, and then your cleanup is going to be the melee for 202 damage. It's crucial that you know this and think about this. In those sticky situations, it's 2 shots and then a melee. With your exotic armor, each character has good options, and we'll discuss some of them briefly. We don't have time to talk about all of them though. But Ludification Boots, Transverse Steps for the Warlock, Karnsteins are really good for it. The best option though is going to be Ophidian Aspects for all-around play for the Warlock. Getting that Last Word out quick, fast reloads, it's top priority. For the Titan, Lion Rampant is really good. You get a buff to your lift jump hipfire. But an interesting option, and you Titans really think about this, in these close quarter situations where you get rushed, most players, like we talked about, are up in the air. So you're above them hip firing down shots. So the Syntheseps are a really good option to think about. Jump in the air, you have buffed melee range with the Syntheseps, you land 2 shots and then hit them from the other coast with your melee. For the Hunters, Stompies, Frosties, Dragon Shadow, all are really good, but I personally believe the best option is Lucky Pants. That illegally modded holster, as we saw earlier, it gives you faster ready speed. Think quick draw when you think about that, and you're more accurate when swapping to a hand cannon. And this makes your hipfire cone true, and bloom almost non-existent. All around it suits the Last Word perfectly. The age-old questions still remain for Last Word. Do you tap the trigger? Do you hold the trigger down? Do you aim down sights? Do you hipfire? Up front, Destiny 2's version of the Last Word wants you to be in hipfire, stated by the Fanfire perk. And again, that only works while you're in hipfire and goes away when you aim down sights or reload. Let's also establish the differences between console and PC. On console, recoil is much harder to deal with. Hand cannons have a history of bloom here. PC users, from what I've seen and what I've heard, are having a great time with the Last Word at mid-range. aiming down sights, or using hipfire. So a lot of things we're going to talk about are aimed towards console players having trouble with the last word, but it could also apply it to PC. First, tap or hold. This has been and always will be preference. It's all about feel. On console, you know the faster you fire, the more bloom you get. So if you feel that your shots aren't landing, try tapping the trigger. In the gameplay you've been seeing, I hold the trigger. The only time I tap the trigger is at medium to long distances, and that's for accuracy to make sure I land the shots. So what about aim down sights or hipfire? There are players that solely hipfire it all the time, and that's perfectly fine, and that's actually how the gun's designed, we've talked about. There are also players that aim down sights all the time. I do aim down sights, as you've seen, and I always did in Destiny 1 as well. In very close situations, I hipfire. And what's always been nice about the last word is that there's no wrong answer. What worked for someone might not work for another, but they all have the same end result. So let's talk about recoil, and I'm going to explain this to you guys and cover it how I would explain it to my friends in a party chat that have trouble using the last word. When shooting it, you always need to apply down tension with your right stick. In hipfire, this is lessened significantly. The goal is to make it shoot straight to level out the shots. If you don't do that, the recoil shoots straight up. It has 100 recoil directions, so it is consistent, but it shoots straight up. If you're aiming down sights, you have to apply greater tension on that right stick to level out those shots. So there are 3 ways I'm going to show you guys here. They're visual things, different ways to think about the last word. One of these might work for you, all of them might work, or none of them might work. The goal is hopefully they can help. And with the last word, I went to a private match with a friend and worked on the down tension, and in about 30 minutes I got it down. It's natural now. But those 3 things to think about are number 1, get enough down tension to see the actual dot, the reticle, and you can focus on that dot in the barrel. When you get that recoil down and controlled, you're using this dot. We all have different sensitivities, so how much tension is really dependent on that, but that's going to be your goal, to be looking out for this to get it right here. The second thing is it can get complicated. Since we know the recoil is straight up, you need to bring it down. So another way I've taught people with the last word is think about it like you're slicing a knife. As you're shooting, it's going to go up. Your job is to bring it down and slice it down into your enemy. And when you get to a certain point, you start leveling it out to make it straight. Now the third way is how I think about it. If you don't move, the recoil flies up, we've talked about, but the barrel itself kicks diagonally to the top right, just like most hand cannons. When you start strafing, you sway in the direction that you're moving, right? So you move left, you move right. But with the last word, when you pair the sway with its high recoil, and you, the user, trying to bring the recoil down, it's very difficult visually. It's bouncing all over the place. And if you look back in this gameplay, I do this about 90% of the time. So there's 2 things that I do. I apply tension to the right stick to the bottom left, think 7 o'clock, and I also strafe to 7 o'clock as well. Since the recoil is bouncing to the top right, I strafe to the bottom left to combat that. It's hard to explain, but it levels out the shot. And you can see here how the barrel is moving. It almost looks like it's straight up and down, almost like a precision hand cannon. That's how I do it. Since the time to kill is so quick, the gunfight is over quick. So on your end, the most important thing is to land very quick, very efficient, straight shots. And the thing to take away is that when you're shooting the last word, stick to a direction, because the gunfights are over very quick. That's my personal tip. You can also strafe to the right and do some down tension. But when you strafe left and right like you normally do, I noticed that A, visually it's all over the place, and B, it makes you miss shots. So take it slow, try strafing in just one direction and getting those shots level and straight. It works wonders for me. And like I said, those things are to try to help if you're having trouble. Different things to do, different ways to think about the recoil. In conclusion, I think Bungie nailed it. I think the weapon feels great, but you do have to spend time with it. You have to put time in with it. It's going to feel weird when you pick it up. It's going to feel weird if you aren't working on it ever. It doesn't have ease of use. It has a very high skill gap, but it's something you can learn. So just keep practicing. And it's really nice for players that don't have Luna's Howl or Not Forgotten. The last word is a direct counter. I haven't had any issues going against those weapons. Keep in mind that if the last word isn't working out for you, Thorn is coming. The last word, though, is here to stay, and you will be seeing it routinely in your Crucible games. So just keep in mind everything that we talked about today, keep working at it. It is a top tier weapon, it is elite. If you're new to the channel, consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, remember to leave a like. Thank you guys for your support. For both PC and console users, what are your thoughts on the last word? How does it feel? Thank you guys for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.